Good evening and welcome to the informal meeting for February 8th, 2016. Please rise for a moment of silence and prayer. We pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Copies of committee reports are on the Alderman's desk. Communications. The first one is from Mayor Hamilton regarding a veto for a payment to the New York State Planning Federation for the 2016 annual membership fee. Any discussion? The second communication is from Pamela Kungle of 124 Warren Street, opposing the installation of parking meters below 3rd Street. Any discussion?
Did everyone on the council receive an individual letter?
Yes. Third communication is from Animal Kind regarding the increase in support for spay and neuter fees for 2016. Any discussion? And the fourth communication is from Mayor Hamilton, and it's suggesting amendments to the Hudson City Code, Section 325-13, for residential special commercial district to allow for hotels in the RSC district. Any discussion? First resolution of the evening is to appoint commissioners of deeds. May I have an introduction and a second? Michael Harris, second. Alexis? Sorry. Oh, okay. The second resolution is acknowledging and thanking the Friends of First Presbyterian Church for restoring the church's principal stained window on Warren Street. Alderman Rector, would you like to make any comments?
Yes, thank you, President. For those who know the First Presbyterian Church on Warren Street, it is the official clock for the city of Hudson. And in November 2012, due to the really terrible deterioration of the window and safety, they had to border it up with plywood. And the church at that time had no sufficient funds to correct it or repair it or replace it. So we theoretically were looking at kind of a toothless window on the main street of Hudson where our city clock is. Due to the outstanding work of the Friends of the Presbyterian Church, a nonprofit, non-secular organization, they raised the money through really generosity of the Galvin Foundation and a couple of other organizations and individual donations. And they were blessed. I'm happy to say that in May of 2014, I believe, or 2015, they announced that they had raised the necessary funds. And this past October, I think to everyone's delight, we saw the new window installed. So the resolution, very quickly, whereas the First Presbyterian Church, established in 1785, is one of Hudson's oldest congregations of worship, second only to the Quaker meeting, whereas the First Presbyterian Church has been an integral part of the life of Hudson throughout the city's history. The first bell of the city was hung in the tower of the church, and since 1801, the city clock has been located in the tower of the church. The First Presbyterian Church is a contributing structure in the National Register designated historic district and individually designated as a local landmark by the Historic Preservation Commission and the Common Council of the City of Hudson. Whereas the First Presbyterian Church is an iconic building in the City of Hudson and is a major aspect of the streetscape of Hudson, Warren Street, and the city landscape. Whereas the stained glass church north facade is a major element of the building's Gothic design and beloved element of the streetscape. Whereas the Friends of the First Presbyterian Church, a non-denominational group of volunteers dedicated to the church's preservation, successfully orchestrated the immense effort to raise the funds required to restore the stained glass window. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Hudson officially acknowledges and thanks the Friends of the Presbyterian Church for their ongoing and exemplary work in protecting this major and iconic structure on Hudson's Main Street. This was the first resolution that the Hudson Historic Preservation Commission requested be addressed by the Common Council. So your support is greatly appreciated.
Therefore, would you like to introduce the resolution?
Yes, ma'am.
In a second.
Thank you, Elise.
And the third resolution, in support of raising the age of criminal responsibility in New York State, urging all decision makers within the criminal justice system to immediately take steps to reduce the instances in which young people under the age of 18 are given harsh adult sentences in adult prisons. Alderman Grader, would you like to make any comments regarding this?
Well, asking for the committee's, for the council's full support on this resolution. This is a resolution in support of the governor if such legislation was to pass to ensure that 16 and 17-year-olds are placed in juvenile facilities and not placed in adult jails or adult prisons. We want to amend the law to ensure parental notification upon arrest of a 16, 17-year-old and to ensure that 16, 17-year-old are interviewed using practices employed for youth, including parental involvement prior to waiving Miranda rights. This is an issue that has been going on for a long time, and surprisingly, New York State, along with North Carolina, are the only two states that are not inconsistent with this legislation. Right now, 16 and 17-year-olds and even younger, for particularly non-violent crimes, are being placed in adult prisons, are going to adult courts and being tried as adults when they are technically still children.
Yes. Would you like to introduce this?
Yes.
Second? Sorry, no. Is there anything that any of the aldermen would like to discuss this evening? The only thing I'd like to add is that Assemblyman Dee Dee Barrett was supposed to be here this evening, and she was also going to speak on the resolution that Tiffany just discussed. Yes.
Thank you. Timothy O'Connor, First Ward. I'd like to know if this resolution, this legislation makes a distinction between violent and nonviolent crimes, because, just rhetorically, what kind of crimes are we talking about here? Thank you.
Well, we're talking about all crimes, and for particularly the youth, that are being tried, 75.3% are all misdemeanors.
And what do we do with the violent crimes, may I ask?
They would still be in jail, but they would, according to their age. They
Is
would
that,
have
is
placed
that,
them.
is that jail though? That's what I'd have to find out.
Excuse me?
Is that really jail is what I'd want to find out?
Yes, and when they become of age, then they will be placed in those adult prisons surrounding adults.
Thank you.
I mean, the purpose for this resolution, and hopefully when the legislation passes, is giving these youth an opportunity when they come back in our communities and they can be productive rather than non-productive citizens.
Well, we always want that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Of course, the other states could be lagging behind New York and South Carolina, so that in itself doesn't really mean anything. But the way you've described it, I understand it now. Thank you.
Supervisor Hughes?
And I'd like to commend Alderman Griega for bringing the legislation forward, and I think a few other people in the community have been following this particular legislation. What it really is about is, for us right now, we currently commingle kids that are 15, 16, and 17 years old in some of our state prisons based on, minor drug violations, and some are of the serious nature. So we're not saying that they shouldn't be incarcerated. What we're saying is that they should not be co-housed with, people of adult age, because what we have found out in New York State when that happens, it has become very difficult for the state, along with current correctional officers, to control that environment, to allow these kids to be safe. And unfortunately, in some instances, when they come out, they have been, exposed to some things that just doesn't allow them to actually reintegrate themselves back into society normally because of the mental stress or whatever it is they went through. And so with this legislation, it will allow a kid, especially those who went in with the minor felonies, for example, a drug arrest, to come out to society, reintegrate themselves back into the community, and hopefully become a productive citizen. So I totally support it, and thank you.
Anything else? Hughes?
First, I have experience work with children and family service in New York State, so I don't know this matter. But I used to know that under the 18 years, you should be go to the different place to jail. I'm supporting her very much because children should not go to with adult any jail or anything like that. So I never know that, but now it's come to our head. So I'm supporting that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
At some point, I just wanted to.
Okay, good.
I just want to give an update on the police and court building update, bidding. As you're probably aware, bids came in, they were opened, the low bidders were identified. Subsequently, letters went out to the 4 low bidders asking for their statements of qualifications, which had all been set out in the bidding process. Got responses from those. I've seen 3 of them. I think the 4th is in. We'll be preparing notices intending to award these contracts. Those will have to go back out, come back in. But also the successful bidders do have a performance bond requirement. So each of them will have to demonstrate that they can provide the necessary bonds. And at that point, we would be able to have contracts to bring back to the council. I don't know if they'll be able to quite get that done for next Tuesday. There's a little bit of stuff being turned around, but so far things seem to be on track. And there's some materials that need to go back and forth to finalize their status as the contractors, having met all the specifications. And we'll get back to you on those.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
No.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, that, I just want to, ask council to, please prepare a resolution moving forward for the, ramp for Promenade Hill. That also is in the, DPW minutes that we just approved.
Yeah, I'd like to make an announcement that the city is in the middle of, getting towards the end of a public comment period sponsored by the New York State Department of State Division of Coastal Resources for something called Coastal Consistency Review, because much of the city is in the state's coastal area. So this is a seeker sort of a thing, you know, that's the State Environmental Quality Review Act, but it's totally separate. It doesn't overlap with seeker at all, and it's its own review. And it's ongoing. It's going to end February 19th. And to date, nobody really even knows about it. I've been speaking with Sheena Salvino, who's kind of the face of the federal government for this review. And that's about it. I mean, I've tried to copy a few people on it, but nobody knows about this. And it's an awful shame. It's a great opportunity to, well, first of all, step up and realize that we have a coast here. We have a federal coastline. And that's a federal navigation channel, and these are federally regulated wetlands around us, and they're very special. February 19th is the end of the comment period. If anyone would like to find out more about it, please contact me, just a citizen. But we do what we can.
I'd like to say about the permanent hill park. We have tried a long time. I got a letter for 2013. They come as soon as they'll be looking for grant or something. October 8, 2013 on our calendar, this letter. They'll be so as soon as I try to, for like a couple of years to do that. But I love to do that like a permanently something, not there. But I try to wait, we try to wait long time, they come, the gun bus, I don't know why they fail it. $20,000 is very minimum money to the temporary rent. So I to tell them, all of them, our councilmen or all of the outsider development, or somebody can edit some money for the $20,000. We can make it something permanently, if you're possible. That's what I like to request that. I like to request all of the donors, if you're possible, come out with some money for add the $20,000, and then we can do. This is, we try to like 4 or 5 years, 2010, we try to do that resolution being that. So I like to address the common council, so bring, if somebody comes down donor or somebody who can do the better way to done, I like to do that. That is my request as an alderman. Thank you.
I concur with Alderman Andrews. Yeah, I think that, first of all, I'd like to go back to the design of it and see that and know that Hudson can probably do better. And look at that and come up with the additional monies to build the
Somebody come up.
The hopes were that a major grant was going to happen to renovate most of that park, and the ramp would be part of that. Obviously, we did not receive that grant money, but we promised a ramp. So at this point, I totally agree with that. I'm just revisit the whole design and the cost and what we can come up with as a city.
I don't think that's what he said. I think he said he's looking for additional people to donate money
Additional money.
to the 20,000
Yes.
for the ramp.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The money with the city, additional money,
Yeah.
so the ramp can be improved, enhanced. I mean, I had to go back to the
Improved,
original
we don't
design,
have one.
the design and the building.
Yeah. I'd like to see that too. Anyone else? Motion to adjourn? So more? Tiffany. Thank you. Any signatures, please?